Yeah. You're listening to the Wild Die Podcast. 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 Listen 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 to the Wild Die Podcast.
Welcome to the Wild Eye Podcast, episode 113. 113. My name is Eric Lemour, aka No Sleeves McGee, and here are my co-hosts, Morning Flower, Gary McCallum, and Carl
Oh my God.
Kiesler.
Jeez.
I hate you so much right now. You missed one episode. Apparently I wasn't a morning flower last week.
No.
Got your beauty sleep?
I don't know. What do you think? Do I look like a pretty lady?
It's awesome.
Like a morning flower. Yeah.
Wow. You guys are brutal. You're so brutal. Man, we should have really thrown a wrench in this thing and recorded it on Friday. It could have been Friday, the episode 113.
Yeah,
What are we thinking?
Well, congrats, Carl, on the success of Savage Pathfinder. That's been going on for about a week now, and
Something like that, yeah. It's going pretty good.
Of course, funded in less than maybe 2 minutes, and
Yeah.
last I checked was well over 200,000, I think. So,
Wow.
I'd call that a success.
Yeah, it's going pretty good.
So now Carl
When do
can,
you,
can retire to Bali and.
Yeah. You head down to Mar-a-Lago with Trump there, buddy.
Yeah, that's just right up the road from me. So
The two of
actually,
you can park your yachts side by side.
that's
right?
what I'm gonna, yeah.
We can look at the first lady in her bathing suit. That'd be sweet. What's her
Yeah,
name again? I don't even remember.
Not far from here where I live in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, I can't remember what his wife's name is. It's Mar something or other.
Melania.
Melania. That's what I always remember. Ivanka for some reason. I never remember that.
That was his
new
first
one.
wife.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we could compare the first wife like to the second wife, like we're going to compare Deluxe versus Swade today, right, boys?
Look at that
Check out-
segue.
Look
Wow.
at that segue skill I got.
Wow, you leveled up, buddy.
Here's a Benny for you.
Seasoned. A seasoned podcaster.
Yeah, indeed. It's been 2 years since Swade came out, 2018 in PDF anyway. So everybody's had time to play it, and I have an opinion on if they like it or not. I think it's pretty unanimous that we like it, but there might be some things in there that we don't like as much. So, yeah, what do we think about it? Is it better than Deluxe? Why? All that stuff. That's what we're going to talk about. So let's take it to the edge. All right. Well, I'll get the discussion going. I've got a couple bullet points here that I noted. First, I just want to say I don't think there's anything wrong with Deluxe. Obviously, I played it for 8 years. It came out in 2012, I believe. And then it was pretty steady until about midway. That's when they changed the shaken rule to recover from shaken recovery. But other than that, it's been pretty steady. I've had a lot of fun playing it and still use some Deluxe material for Swade now. People are always asking if something has been updated to Swade. To me, I just look at it as it's the same stat blocks as in Deluxe. Besides a couple skills and the departure of charisma, the stat blocks are basically the same. So to me, it's pretty plug and play. Yes, Berserk or Frenzy in Deluxe doesn't work the same way in Swade, but it's still called the same. So it's an easy conversion, translation, adaptation, whatever you want to call it. We had this discussion, Gary and I, earlier this week. Conversion.
Let's call it a switch.
Yeah.
Call it whatever you want.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I mean, the biggest changes for me, I think, were in the powers, and that's one thing that I think Deluxe did better, and I'll explain. In Deluxe, you could still choose some trappings for your powers. You could have a fire trapping power, and these had mechanical advantages, or it could be acid or cold, and it would really change the power. Now, in the book, you can still do that. They tell you, yeah, you can trap it however you want, but these no longer have any mechanical advantages or benefits or whatever. I mean, you could still add them on, but rules as written, no. Instead, that's been replaced with modifiers, which you could argue is better in a way. You got more options there for your powers, but I think it loses a bit of the flavor. Arcane backgrounds, they only differ in names. they basically work the same way now. Before, you had like miracles and you had sins and things like that. Now it's just the same thing that happens when you score a critical failure for your powers. So, and then you choose your list. So basically they give you an arcane background and a skill that goes with it. But other than that, the arcane backgrounds aren't as different as they used to be from the others. It's up to the GM or the designer of a new setting to make those different. New tools, new GM tools in Swade, I think, with the quick encounters, the dramatic tasks have been revamped. There are new setting rules, which are really cool, I think. So that gives you more mechanics to handle a broader selection of scenes and encounter types. And I found that out while I was designing Wise Guys too, because Wise Guys I started designing it with Deluxe, and then I had to come up with a bunch of mechanics to take it to where I wanted it to go. But once Swade came out, I was like, hey, I no longer need these things I made up. I can just use the ones in Swade. They would work a lot better and people would be more familiar with them. So there's that. Chase rules, the contentious chase rules, always. Every iteration of those rules, there's always people that are unhappy with them and people that like them. So we went from highly narrative and abstract rules in Deluxe, which I loved, success using those rules, to a more grounded, a more structured set of rules for the chases in Swade. I mean, I like both. I can't say which one I prefer, but I have no problem with the Swade rules at all. Actually, yeah, they're fun for me. So, but for some people, yeah, it's just too much. Difference used to be cooperative roles. Now they're called support roles. And the main difference is that the cooperative roles, if you wanted to help someone out, you had to use the same skill. Rules is written anyway, but I think everybody has seen that over the years, GMs and groups actually were more loose with that rule and let anybody use any kind of skills, which to me made more sense. It was more fun that way. So now in Swade, it's called support roles. And yes, you can use any skill to aid someone, to support someone. So that I like. And the other point, that's because of Carl. and it's better presentation and organization. The graphic design is really good in Swade. I don't think it was bad in Deluxe, but it's even better now in Swade. And the information is better organized. It's easier to find certain things. It's still not perfect, I think, but I think that's really difficult when you
Wow.
when you try to design a game and a book and present all that information. It's a real challenge to do it in a very intuitive and easy way. So I don't think that can
Man,
be
what?
perfect.
Why don't you just reach through the screen and punch Carl straight in the face?
Well, Carl did. Carl
kidding.
did the graphic.
Carl,
He did the graphic design, but he didn't do the layout. So, and
Right.
the organization
Gotcha.
is not really, a graphic thing. It's deciding where to put, each block of text and things like that. So, I don't. Yeah, that's not.
see, before the show, we were having a little outside the Wild Eye podcast chat kind of a thing before we fired this bad boy up. And we were showing each other the stupid stuff we have on our desk. And Carl and myself, we both happen to have little rags. I keep mine for cleaning spills of coffee and stuff like that. But I'm thinking now would be the good time to grab that rag and wipe those tears away, Carl. That's
Doing it right now.
right.
Yeah.
And Eric's just heartless.
Get a little
Right
bit
for the
sensitive.
groin.
Teary-eyed over here. It's okay. I can handle it. I can go on.
It's all right. I got back to you for not inviting us over to play Pathfinder with you guys home tag. That's what you get.
Oh man, I just remembered I wasn't talking to Carl anymore. That's right.
For the next play test, you guys will be invited. I promise.
Yeah, and I'll turn you down just to spite you. At the last minute, like 10 minutes before the game. No, can't do it.
No.
Screw you, Carl. And last thing I think I wanted to point out, and that's something that me and my buddies keep talking about, is when Swade came out, they said it had been through extensive playtest for a year, but the number of versions of Swade that came out in PDF before they actually made it to print, that was a bit much. I think like it seemed like twice a week sometimes we'd get a new version of the PDF. Big changes to the rules. I think at one point, the Wild Eye, we did an episode on the chase rules when the Sleepy Hollow thing came out, and they were still using tokens for the chase. And I think not even 1 week after we recorded this, Shane released another update to the chase rules, and I reached out to him, and he's like, "Yeah, please don't publish that episode. It's going to confuse people." And yeah, so we had to scrap that one. It's only available to our Patreons. That episode is still there for them, but for anybody else, we couldn't release that episode. So there was a lot of versions, and even people that got a bunch of versions. The aces before that, we even had beta versions of this, and I think there must have been well over a dozen versions of Swade until they finally settled on something. So that didn't happen with Deluxe. Didn't happen with Explorers. So I think they missed the mark a little bit on this one. But 2 years later, I think the version is stable now, and it's where it should be. So that's the only maybe little notch. Bad thing I can say about Swade, that was a bit frustrating at times, especially for all the aces trying to create content for Swade and not knowing if the next week a swiping change of a rule or mechanic would make your whole castle crumble because they had changed something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's overall. I'd say I much prefer Swade over Deluxe. It's more fun to play, easier to run too, more fun for everybody. What about you guys? How do you feel?
Well, I think you nailed it. We should just put a pin in this episode and call her done.
Good job, Eric.
Yeah, way to go, bud. It's good stuff. All right, see you next week, guys.
Bye.
Do you know what I was just thinking when you were reading that? I remember how fun that Sleepy Hollow friggin' episode was, where we had this shoot out of town on the horses. We were getting chased and stuff. But could you imagine the guy that put all that time and effort into writing the adventure and stuff and setting all that up, and then suddenly it's gone and your heart is crushed,
Well,
like an orange juice squeezed out for breakfast.
well, I can say something about all those changes and stuff. Seeing, from the Pathfinder side, the Savage Pathfinder side over here. I mean, they're still discussing changes, right now even on the playtest stuff we just did, with Bard stuff and things like that. But they're just trying to. I know it's a smaller company, and there's just a handful of you got Clint and Shane and a few others that are really honing down on the Savage Worlds rules. He's just trying to make it the best game he can. I mean, that's obvious, with all the changes and stuff. But I think sometimes they throw those out there and see how players react to them and stuff like that. All the different iterations of the PDF, and sometimes even in the playtests, we see stuff that, oh, well, that didn't come up before, but that's going to change this, and that's not good. We need to change that because of this other thing,
Right, and that's fair,
yeah.
But maybe you release it as a play test for a year and let people play it for a year, and then after that you say, okay, that's final version, instead of saying, yeah, you'll get your final version, but oh wait, no, it's not really final. We're going to change. And yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. It's just, you say that it's been thoroughly play tested for a year when really it was only play tested with maybe a couple groups of friends, but you could have thrown it out there for everybody to play test it and then give their feedback. And when it's time to actually release it, you get something a bit closer to where you were going to go with it.
I think that's why they were releasing the PDFs early, because they wanted everybody to kind of look at it and even play it. And now I know the PDFs say this is not final. Do not print this. They give those warnings out like right away that things might change and stuff like that. So I think the Kickstarter allows them to do that, with those that back it and stuff like that. And that's the core group that is going to look at that stuff. Are the people that are going to back it. So.
Do you really want to throw that out to the public? What? That's my honest question. Do you really want the public involved in the mechanics of your gaming system?
Well, sometimes, because they think of stuff that, just these 5 or 6 guys haven't. I mean, they're not perfect.
Play styles, and some people are going to latch on to some mechanics that other groups won't touch. So,
right.
I just feel like that would be a lot of sifting through garbage, and I don't mean to offend the public in such a way, but do you know what I mean? Speaking of small companies, this is why it's not that I have a bad outlook on the public or anything like that, but do you remember when Riffs came out and then they switched to Swade, and then they did a really cool thing, which is they rewrote all the Riffs books into Swade. And there's actually people on the internet that thought that they should get all new books. They thought they should get the whole new deal. Pinnacle's a massive company. They can afford it. I'm like, well, yeah, really? Apparently you don't know. It's like 3 people that work there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's not kill the conversation. You're going to probably have to edit that lull out there. Shooting back to the top, there's nothing wrong with Deluxe. I kind of agree, man. It's still playable to this day. There's a lot of material written for Deluxe that you can get your hands on and get after. There's a lot of neat things that I like about Swade too. Like Deluxe was pretty cool, but I think the idea of not failing, like not critically failing, might have been maybe for me one of its more prominent flaws. because if you did critical fail, you could just Benny your way out of it in Deluxe, and now it sticks, and it sticks in a cool way. And if you happen to fail your roll and you decide to spend bennies, and one of those bennies is a critical fail, sorry about your bad luck, mister. Like, you know what I mean? That's pretty that's
like
pretty
that
crappy
too.
for you.
You're right.
So I think that's pretty neat. As far as the layout goes, I really liked the layout in the old books. I liked the way that it looked, the presentation. It was easy to read. Whoever this jerk is that did the new layout, he can suck it.
Jerk face.
I don't know what his name is. His name's Laurel Leisler or something. The layout in the new book is really good too, man. It's fantastic. It's really well put together. Carl, what's your big beef between the two of them, between Deluxe and Swade, as far as like, maybe some mechanics or something like that? Is you got something on the go?
Yeah, I have a few things that I really like about the new edition Swade is, for one thing, the benny usage, on how they incorporated all these different ways you can spend your bennies and get really cool stuff. Like you can get PowerPoints, you can influence the story a little bit. It's really cool on how they integrated like that from probably other like what the quote unquote storytelling type games where you can change things like that.
Mm-hmm. The buy a new initiative card is my favorite feature.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't like this stinking 3. Can I have another?
It's amazing. I mean, that's really cool. I love that part. Quick encounters, like Eric said. There's a bunch of little GM tools in there that can help you with your games. And quick encounters, I love them. Especially at con games if you run out of time. Quick encounters are amazing. No XPs. I like how there's no points now. It's just kind of marker story based type things. You get to this point and do that. And I don't know about other groups, but we were already kind of doing that in our games. We were kind of playing and then like, okay, this feels like a good point for you guys to get in advance. You defeated that monster or whatever, and let's move on. But I like that it's rules is written now. Another thing I like are the box sets. I love all these cool box sets that are coming out. The Swade box set and the Deadlands Lost Colony box set. And of course there's going to be Deadlands, and Headstone Hill is going to have a little box that comes with.
Should be next month, right? Everybody should be getting that next month, I believe.
The powers is sort of the next thing that you put on the list. We've talked about this in our sort of offline chat group and stuff that we have. When you compare powers to other systems, like take Genesis, for example, we always kind of have to smash them a little bit. You want to cast a better, more powerful, more cool spell. You increase the difficulty dice, which makes your spell more difficult to go off. And it's not a thing that I'm a fan of. If I want to cast a cool magical spell, I don't want my chances of the difficulty to go off, because that just leads to more failing and me sitting here crying in my own tears. What I like about the wild dice system is it's just a matter of draining your power points. The success chance remains the same.
Unless
the power that you put into the spell.
Rule. Unless you're using the PowerPoint rule.
Yeah, but then you don't have to worry about it anyway, right? So if you're using the no PowerPoint rule, and could you stack all of the stuff on it? Like, I want to put on long range, I want to make you glow, slow down.
Yeah, and then that becomes
and then it just makes
to your roll. To your roll, yeah.
Not my roll, because I got a D12 plus 4 in spell casting.
Yeah, no, but I see your point. Like, if you use just the PowerPoint rules, it just drains you of more PowerPoints, and you can still cast a really cool spell. And then when you're out of PowerPoints, you can spend a penny and get some PowerPoints back. So
yeah, even if you decide to throw all of your PowerPoints into a spell, you're doing the range, you're doing the let's light the guy up with a color to make him easier to hit. All of these other things that you're going to toss on top of your spell that are these additive modifiers. Even if you throw all those on top and cast this really vibrant, cool spell and fail, it's only one PowerPoint. You know what I mean? It's like it's a great system for as far as Magic users, especially from a guy coming from D&D. Because in D&D at first level, what do you got? You got 2 spells and some cantrips. I can cast light the candle or flame strike or something. repeatedly and do the same thing over and over again. I guess bold is the same thing, but at least we have the added benefit of acing dice, which turns that stagnant 1d6 damage into something could be cool, right? I just hit my desk. There's so many things about the power system in Swade that are, I don't want to say better, but just cool. Like the modifiers are awesome. It really took, for me, it really took casting to a whole new level, being able to add things on and, sort of manipulate situations a little bit better. It made my toolkit for my mages and stuff like that better. Quick encounters. Man, I've never used a quick encounter. Ever. Lamoureux. Why is my phone dinging? What's happening here? Oh, I see.
No, that's because
quick encounters.
That's because you like using maps and minis and having highly tactical encounters, which quick encounters aren't. So that's probably why. You make a map and you're like, I made a freaking map and we're gonna use it. So
damn straight. It's exactly how I roll. Look what I built for you. Look what I put my time and effort into to make you guys have an exciting adventure. How dare you look at it and say, okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Did you imagine you were showing me your thing that you built there? You imagine if somebody quick encountered their way through that, they're like, hey, I got to go. And you're like, oh, quick encounter. So much for the hours of crafting that I put into this thing.
Oh, I get you. No, I totally understand. And I guess to some, quick encounters might not satisfy their gaming fix and it feels too rushed. But I just feel like quick encounters, sometimes not every encounter should have as much narrative time as all of them. Like some of them should just be kind of, all right, let's move on. You know, like there's a horde of zombies and you really want to fight all 100 of them. You might want to just say, okay, we need to get to that door over there. Let's run a quick encounter and see who gets hurt on the way there, instead of running a combat encounter with 100 zombies. They'll probably take you 3 sessions to go through,
Yeah, this is true. Or, you're doing something, you go to a store to get a pack of smokes and you bump into a guy and then, you have that one player that's like, I punch him in the head. And then suddenly you got to do a combat scene and you could just be like, okay, you just tell me what happens here.
Yeah.
See, and for me, it would be like, tell me how this guy kicks your ass and leaves you laying on the floor.
Yep.
There's my quick encounter.
You saved that for the last encounter at the end there. Tell me how you kicked his ass. Yeah.
That's too funny. The contentious chase rules. I really like the new chase rules. It took us a bit to get used to them, but once we figured them out and stuff like that, it's kind of neat how they've got them all set up. And I think we ran a really cool chase scene when we did the Booty Bay adventure for Rifty Fathoms that I ran you through, where you could go either way. This way you're going to run into people. This way it's crates, barrels, and whatnot as you go down through the docks. I thought that was. And each way was both 10 cards, right? And, I ran them up to 4 and then split them to 6 to get to the boat either way. And it worked out fantastic. So yeah, I don't know. I really down with the Swade version. It's like the Deluxe is like a hamburger that's really good, but then the Swade has like an extra patty kind of a thing, right?
It's a cheeseburger.
It's got some weird special sauce on it and stuff like that. You can't quite put your finger on, and it takes a chemist to sort of pull it apart. And, speaking of John Steve, not that we were, there is the that one feature where everybody gets like inspiration, like D&D. Conviction. That's the word.
Conviction tokens. Yeah.
Okay. John Steve knows conviction's awesome. We showed him. Well, Eric did anyway.
What about you, Carl? Anything you want to add before we wrap this up? You had more notes. I think Gary cut you short a little bit there.
So yeah, that's fine. So yeah, the box sets are amazing. Like I was saying, critical fails. I love the critical fails, because that wasn't in the rules before. I mean, I don't remember. Was it? I don't.
It was a setting rule, but now it's part of rules as written. Yeah.
Right. Support roles, like you were saying earlier. I love how the new support roles are, where you can come up with, as long as it's feasible, you can come up with any skill that you have to roll to help people in the game. So you're not just sitting there saying, well, I don't have the intimidation roll, skill, so I'm not going to participate.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more open now for everybody to get involved with things. So, but yeah, that's it. I mean, that's cool stuff.
Yeah, I would say to people, if you got a setting that you want to run that's not Swade ready, I mean, you can always just run it with Deluxe because there's nothing wrong with it. And if you want to run it with Swade, I mean, the conversion part, most settings for Pinnacle anyway already have a conversion document, and it's only a couple pages. But as I was saying at the beginning of the show, it's mostly the stat blocks are the same, so you don't really need to change a whole lot to play. You could play Evernight with Swade if you wanted to, and there wouldn't be much that you need to change with that. Same with old Ripper's Adventures. I ran the Laughter of Death from Ripper's, which was a Explorers edition, early Explorers, when the damage was still strength +1 instead of strength plus D4. So that was really easy to just adapt it to Swade. Granted, some people might say, yeah, but Eric, you've got a lot more experience playing Savage Rules than me if I just started a couple months ago. But I think that's why we have GMs, right? It's not just to come up with obstacles, it's to make rulings and change the rules a little bit if they have to. So I don't think it's a big deal. To some people it is, and I guess I have to respect that even if I disagree. But I definitely has run Deluxe stuff for Swade, and because the core mechanic's the same, right? I mean, you got a parry and toughness when you're doing fighting. Yeah. So just ignore the charisma if there is one, and just go from there. If someone has climbing D6, just give them athletics D6. Right. Just exactly. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
You guys make it sound so easy. I'm jealous.
Well, you can do it, Gary.
I think everybody can do it. I think that's why a lot of people like Savage Rules, is because it's easy, it's simple. So I think people are maybe stressing out over little details like that don't really matter or shouldn't anyway.
Right.
Yep. I like Savage Worlds like I like my ladies. Easy.
Good to know. All right, let's wrap this up. So we were talking about it at the top of the show. Savage Pathfinder Kickstarter doing really well. They keep adding stretch goals. Really, really cool stuff. I think the latest one was add-on for Fantasy Grounds. So you can add, I think, $30 to your pledge, and it will give you the whole kit for Fantasy Grounds. And there's already a book they added, a companion. There's VTT assets. There's a bunch of stuff. So I think it's worth looking into. That, like one of my friends was saying, it might become the DNA to run D&D games in Savage Worlds. So even if you're not interested in the campaign itself, you see the classes and things like that. There's a preview with the wizard how it's built, and I think the design is pretty tight, so you can check that out.
That
it's
guy
not
with
final,
his wordplay.
Yeah.
Hey, that was pretty smart. Whoever that guy was with that tricky wordplay.
Yeah.
DNA, D&D. I see what he did there.
Yep. So there's that, and then I want to thank our newest patron, Trevor Hurst. So thank you, Trev. So this is Eric saying, get yourself a big deal.
This is Carl saying, do you want to Benny that?
And this is Morning Flower saying, keep your pants on, keep it fun. Thanks, everyone. We're out.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Wild Eye Podcast. If you would like to get in touch with us, our email address is thewildeye@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Twitch as well. We're the Wild Eye Podcast. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/the Wild Eye. And speaking of Patreon, we would like to thank the following patrons: Rob Towell, Conrad Erasmus Nordberg, Corey Judd, Emma Wakeland, Kevin Stanley, Perry Chalmers, Ray Aracia, Dan Brown, Yan Jetmar, Manuel Sams, Mr. Stagg, Zovia RPG Maps, Chris Grant, Robert Dorgan, Andy Hall, Brian Kaser, Daryl Caxier, Jens Conheim, Sid the Squid, Knuckle Dave Anderson, Tor Bjertness Peterson, and Trevor Hurst. Thank you all. We'll see you later.